Well, after all the uproar over Team USA's uniforms being made in China, Ralph Lauren is changing its tune, saying that the uniforms for the 2014 Winter Games will be made here in America. But our next guest says there is still time to make this year's uniforms here in the U.S. David Peck is a Houston-based fashion designer who manufactures all his clothing line and clothing for other companies right here in the good old USA. Good morning, David.
Good morning. How are you?
We're doing well. So did these Team USA outfits have to be made in China?
No, not at all.
Why not?
We have the capacity here in America to make them. I know there's always issues in terms of costing, trying to get a better price. I completely understand that, but we do have the capabilities to produce them here in the U.S.
Okay, but in order to
keep it was
price
a missed
down,
opportunity.
I mean, you raised this point, and I do want to see what the price differential would be. Did Ralph Lauren, in order to keep costs down, have to go to China? Is there any way for us here in the U.S. to do what you do and manufacture nice clothing and make them inexpensive?
I think we can definitely do that. I mean, we do have higher costs in the U.S. in general, but we can produce really high quality. And I think that's something that Americans have sort of let lapse, is that we don't look for the same quality in our clothes. And so we go more for price and value rather than longevity.
So to produce those berets that you see that Ralph Lauren has produced, and the jackets, maybe we could put up a picture right now of the outfits that they've produced, how much would it cost roughly?
Well, it depends on where you're manufacturing them. If you're manufacturing them in New York City, it might be a little bit more expensive. If you go to somewhere regional, like where we are based in Houston, you can definitely drive down the cost. You know, all of those depend on different factors. It's the type of material, it's the labor that goes into it. But you can definitely work with a manufacturer in order to get a price that works for your budget.
Let me tell you the statement. Let me read it to you from Ralph Lauren about all of this hullabaloo. Ralph Lauren promises to lead the conversation within our industry and our government to address the issue to increase manufacturing in the United States. We have committed to producing and opening at the opening and closing ceremony Team USA uniforms in the United States that will be worn for the 2014 Olympic Games. In other words, they say they can't do it now in the next 2 weeks, but they can do it for 2014. Can your company produce the uniforms needed for the Olympics in the next 2 weeks?
I mean, that's a difficult question. I don't know the quantities that they're talking about, but I'm sure that my company and a number of other companies throughout the U.S. who specialize, especially in men's tailoring, would be able to do it. You know, it may be a little bit too late at this point for the Olympic team to have completely new uniforms made, and it's probably just a little bit of a waste. I think what we should focus on now actually is the opportunity to talk about domestic manufacturing and the opportunities that we can create here in America. And I think it's really admirable of Ralph Lauren to think about this going forward and have committed already to doing the 2014 games here in America. And
you're right. I mean, it is good to have this conversation about just how little is produced in the United States and how we can change that. So, David Peck, if your phone rings, that's the Ralph Lauren people. I hope you'll give it a shot and try to produce the uniforms here. But in the meantime, thanks so much for coming on and explaining how your manufacturing works.
Oh, thank you. I'd be happy to work with them. It was lovely talking to you.
Excellent. Maybe we can make that happen. Coming up, the